Hello and welcome to Amberger Smackdown. I'm your host J. Christoph Amberger and I'm here to start a conversation with America. Well, you got me here. Conversations with America and assorted listening tours are nice, non-controversial ways to avoid being pinned down on actual opinions on actual issues. And today I'd like to give you an earful on the latter. Sure, it's been tough to watch the rogues gallery of collectivist beltway millionaires move back into positions of power since November, even if there's some new and ethnic faces to go with a sad old liberal playbook. But honestly, it's been even worse to watch the Republican remnants stagger through the wreckage of their power base like chickens with their heads cut off. The fawning, the doubling over backward, the infighting, bipartisan, my rear. It's almost more pathetic than Senator Kerry's perennial game of touch and go with reality. Before the complete and utter sellout of sound conservative politics begins and inevitably rings in a plague of 8 years of liberal one-party rule starting in January 2009, let me offer what I call my new conservative manifesto, a short list for spring cleaning among the smoking ruins of the Republican platform. Number one, what's going on with Republican public relations? Have the GOP wise men really abdicated all publicity work to the permanent drip, drip, drip of liberal late-night stand-up dips and college sophomores with writing credits on Saturday Night Live and Boston Legal? Guys, wake up and smell the decaf latte. They're working for the other side, free, and you have zip to counterbalance that. Does anyone remember the concept of permanent campaigning? Permanent campaigns are not conducted by keeping the vice president, arguably the man who sold me on President Bush in the first place, bound and gagged, deaf and dumb at an undisclosed location. Permanent campaigning means selling, reselling, and overselling the perfectly good ideas that the current administrations went into business with to an audience that was positively predisposed toward them not just once but twice. Get someone with a brain and a sense of humor for a change. It worked for Big Arnie in California. I'd even take a daily dose of Dennis Miller over the blow-dried verminators turned kickback takers we've been forced to look at for the last 6 years. Second, and while I'm on that, what's with the hair? For crying out loud, isn't there a Republican candidate who does not have a 70s blowback comb-over hairdo that makes him look like a prep school jock who did a Rip Van Winkle in his daddy's country club? How about picking a candidate who doesn't look like a televangelist, someone who looks like he actually works for a living? This leads me to point 3. Religion is still a private matter. I don't care if you're a Baptist, a Buddhist, or sacrifice small domestic animals to sinister lunar goddesses with silver breastplates and Tammy Faye makeup, but don't get religion 3 months before the election. Don't discover your great-great-grandmother's Jewish second cousin twice removed who influenced you in your youth right before the primaries. Don't pull that venerated Catholic priest from the foliage of their pedigree and expect his holiness to rub off on your Unitarian persona to please the Hispanic vote during the Republican Party convention. Sure, these are more democratic afflictions, but generally displays of public piety are unappetizing and spineless in anyone's holy book. Stand straight, don't slouch, and get your priorities straight. As in your overemphasis of the number 4 gay marriage thing. Give it a break. If people independent of gender want to get married, where a $1,500 power of attorney, a living will, and a basic trust would pretty much have the same desired effect, let them, for crying out loud. Married people pay more taxes and build up a more stable economic base for wealth creation and eliminate the need for public handouts. And they pay more taxes. Did I mention that already? If you have a problem with the sex thing, get over it. Marriage just may be the way to fix that, or so I've heard. Now that we've got this solved, let me go for the hard stuff. Number 5, weapons of mass destruction. All right, we didn't find any. Apparently, we didn't even consider it worthwhile to ask Russian President Vladimir Putin what exactly hardline Soviet communist Yevgeny Primakov and a contingent of Russian Spetsnaz were doing in Iraq right before the US invasion, or what the term emergency exit means in Romanian. I'll let you Google that. That ship has sailed anyway. But no matter what Howie Dean may scream, we didn't really go into Iraq to clean up the WMD mess the UN left, or even to spoil the fun the French and Germans and Russians and Chinese were having illegally trading modern conventional weapons for Saddam's oil. We went into Iraq because it's a pretty damn good idea to have 100,000 battle-hardened US troops with modern equipment stationed right at the explosive strategic center of our oil supplies. in shouting distance of our Saudi pals who'd prefer our troops not being on their holy soil as we make their region safe for them to sell oil to us. And of course, right next to our Israeli friends and allies who are being threatened with a nuclear holocaust by the same regime that foots the bill for blowing up over 30,000 Iraqi civilians just in the past 12 months. Last time I checked, even Subarus and Honda Accords with "War is not the answer" stickers still run on gas. So do the SUV behemoths occupied by carry-voting soccer moms in the private school pickup lines. They don't want to hear that as much as they actually are willing to voluntarily pay additional taxes, but it's true nonetheless. If you want oil, you're either willing to pay what Vladimir, Hugo, or Mad Mahmoud in Tehran are asking of you, or you do something about it. Which brings me to the next point. Number 6, Iraq. All right, based on the beautiful multicultural mythology we've been taught at school, we went wrong assuming that everything would be hugs and kisses once the Bradley fighting vehicles rolled through downtown Baghdad. Turns out that religion is made of much sterner stuff down there and that people love blowing each other to bits because the founder of the one sect was a blood relative of the Prophet and the other one just wasn't. Is that enough reason to turn tail, or worse, for more of the same, just with more troops in the line of fire? Here's Amberger's shortcut to a sustainable occupation of Iraq. Forget about harmony. Give the Sunnis their Sunni nation, Shiites their Shiite homeland, and have the Kurds have their way in their free Kurdistan. Apparently, they're the only ones that get along with each other. It will annoy the Turks, but hey, you can't please everyone. Since the Democrats' platform is not peace in the Middle East, but merely the very understandable aversion to seeing our soldiers turn up dead and wounded by the hundreds, lease giant self-contained areas in strategic positions and turn them into little Iraqi Gibraltars for 99 years. Well-supplied, secure American bases come special economic zones that can double as staging grounds for rapid deployment should our help be needed in Saudi, Kuwait, Qatar, or Israel. Get a Kurdish national army going and put Iraq's oil fields under joint governance with American management. Make oil royalty checks payable directly to each government, but charge them for security, through the nose. Domestically, stick with what has worked out splendidly for the US economy over the past 6 years. Number 7, tax cuts. Take them a step further. Be as capitalist as, say, Russia or Hong Kong and start lobbying for a flat tax again. I suggest 17 or 18%, screw the deductions. That's still cheaper than European sales taxes. You'll see an economic boom that will make the internet boom look like a chess club reunion bash. Apply that flat tax to individuals and corporations and you'll be surprised to see the torrents of taxable foreign cash and corporations relocating to the States. Indians, Chinese, Japanese, Europeans, heck, even the Kennedys may repatriate their family trusts from Fiji at these rates. If you're afraid of commitment and what red-blooded conservative isn't at first, test it for 5 years. Give people who say they can't save for retirement the chance to plow their tax savings into dedicated retirement investment accounts over that time, building a nest egg that they can draw against in early retirement and defer Social Security payments to them until they have used up that money in the initial period. Instead of teaching the secret diary of Charlotte Doyle in 5th grade, introduce Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad as part of your No Child Left Behind program, so kids aren't condemned to go through life as financial illiterates. Because that's at the core of the looming retirement blow-up. People who've been taught at school that society owes them a living. Society owes them to be honest and give them a chance to take care of themselves. The rest can't be helped. Which brings me to the last point. Number 8, immigration. Scrap that stupid desert fence. Immigration is the one thing America still has going for it. Other countries would love to have the problem of too much work and young, ambitious people willing to do it, and eventually have family that then can pay our generation's Social Security. Let the poor saps who sneak across the border stop sneaking and pay the money they hand over to coyotes to immigration instead. Make it easy for them to work here legally and pay taxes on what they earn, just like the rest of us. We're already employing 10% of the entire Mexican labor force, not to mention the rest of Central and South America. You think a 700-mile chain link fence is going to change that? How about recouping some of that money for the Treasury? The only countries who like to build giant walls were China and East Germany, and look what it got them. Now these are just 8 out of the 95 theses I have vowed to come up with for my new conservative manifesto. Can you tell I was raised Lutheran? I'll be adding to them in the coming weeks. If you want a copy of this new conservative manifesto, maybe to wave under the sad and sorry nose of the defeatist Republican public servant of your choice, I've put a PDF up for you right at taipanfinancialnews.com that I plan to add on to. For taipanfinancialnews.com, I'm J. Christoph Amberger, wishing you a profitable week.